in 2020, how everybody kind of went online? Brick and mortar saved me that year. A lot of people went online, but then a lot of people also wanted to shop in person. It was a really weird time. It's just, you think about it, and I think either people jumped back in cautiously, right?
Yeah.
Or they just never came back out.
Welcome to the Art Plus Audience podcast.
Hello, Art Plus Audience. People listening. How are you guys doing? I'm so glad you're here for this episode. I'm here with Vanessa Piche, the most elegant last name. Today, Vanessa and I are just gonna continue a talk we've been having, which is about it's not gonna be like Sunshine and Daffodils podcast. It may not be like the most rah shish boom ba, but I think we're gonna all have something to relate to. And that is the fact that we are in a weird transition right now online to where finding an audience and building it is harder than ever. And that's pretty crappy. What your podcast is called Art Plus Audience to help people build an audience, Vanessa. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself first as a creative and the transition you're in, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, so the last about 15 years, I've been an oil painter, and I made a move in 2014 from Maryland to Rhode Island, where my ex-husband was from. And in Rhode Island, what I did is they had a ton of art markets, art festivals every weekend all around, New England, Cape Cod. So my whole marketing scheme was to do all of these art festivals and
Yeah.
sell my oil paintings, and it worked. So I spent the whole 10 years there doing the art festivals, and then I ended up also opening a brick and mortar there. So my whole time I was really in person building my audience, which is what I was doing. Somewhat on the online kind of happened, but mostly it was all in person with the t-shirt line that I started and the oil paintings that made my whole season.
Yeah. And then
And
you
then,
picked up and moved, and you have chickens and horses. Tell everyone about this.
yeah, so I inherited my grandparents' farm in Indiana, which is like my favorite place ever. And I'm currently sitting here looking at my horse barn. Picked up and moved, built a new house. My 15-year-old and I, the two horses, we all made the move. And then I have also now have a mini pony, donkey, and 25 chickens. So I'm slowly collecting animals and filling my farm. So a very different landscape than what I was currently looking at the beginning of the year.
Different landscape, but also a completely different challenge, which is the art opportunities for you to be in person are not the same. You don't have the brick and mortar store anymore. And you are sitting where so many people are sitting right now, which is like, how the heck do I start over and build a brand new audience from scratch whenever
Yes.
I used to be doing something that was consistent and predictable? Like, tell us about that.
So I kind of had it down to a science, back in Rhode Island. I knew what festivals were good, what I could usually pretty much take home. So there was a bit more of a predictability. Granted,
Yeah.
there were sometimes bad crowds or rain or, things happened. But I kind of knew what my year would look like, about how many paintings I would sell, and about where my income would be with my t-shirts. But moving here, I was like, it's going to be great. I'll build a whole new audience of people who love farm stuff online. Is it is it easy, or is it more like crickets? Like, I don't know right now. So this is the honest conversation we've been having.
Yeah, and we thought we would just talk about it here with you guys because, you know, I've been doing this stuff, and so has Vanessa for a really long time. And we've seen a lot of changes in the industry over the years, but nothing quite like this, where it feels like the idea of organically, just meaning like you show up, you share your work, people are into it, they follow you, they become your customers. It's
Right.
becoming harder and harder to get people to, spend dollars with you, especially if they're not previous customers. So, what do you do when you can't acquire new customers, but you absolutely need them? You need a new audience of people. Angie and I were just talking about this, Vanessa, because we're looking at last year versus this year, returning customers versus new customers. And our in marketing world, they call it top of funnel, which I sound like a bro. Our top of funnel is really small right now, and we have a thriving business, but it's not going in the right direction. And I'm seeing this across the board. Here are my theories, Vanessa, about what's happening. And this is not going to be like a solution necessarily oriented episode as much of if you feel this way, you're not alone.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
was just saying, I've been through a lot of weird turns in the industry, different things, and I'm still here. So it's not insurmountable. Is this a year where we just got to like hold on tight and close our eyes and just get through it? Or is this a shift in how we market in general? So, first theory I have, I just read that the Etsy CEO, who's been there for a while, is stepping down because year over year they have 10% fewer shop owners and 5% fewer buyers. So, in one hand, I'd be like, yay, there are fewer people to compete with on Etsy. That's great. But if that many people are leaving and their sales across the board are down, I just saw this today. I'm thinking, like,
Mm.
it's not just me, it's not just Vanessa, it's even on platforms like Etsy where they have their public and they hold stock.
And that's a big search engine on its
Yes.
own. That's a huge platform. So that says something.
It says something. And then to think about, social media wars, there's all these different social media platforms. And some people will be like, I'm not going to use this platform anymore because XYZ. And then other people will be like, I'm not going to use this platform anymore. I'm wondering, like, where'd my people go? Like, I have my artists who are still sticking around on Instagram, but are the perfect buyers still there? And if they're not, where are they?
Well, not only that, I've had people follow me lately, and then I've had a few say, well, I hope to see you on my feed because I follow people and then I never see them again on my feed. And I'm like, well, that's a problem. How do we
Exactly.
fix that?
Like, what do we do whenever what has always worked doesn't work? I keep feeling like right now, TikTok, the people who are getting it right, the people who apparently are able to just keep posting and posting and posting until they just hit it, once they hit it, it's like they take off and the algorithm favors them. And I talked to two artists in the past 2 weeks that literally this year was the year that their entire business surged because they'd been in the opposite. They hadn't been able to find their people, but this was the year on TikTok. They just posted consistently and then they're growing their art businesses.
Hmm.
But it's way less now, Vanessa, I feel like about like perfect brand, perfect presentation, perfect lead magnet. Like people aren't biting organically lead magnets right now unless they already know who you are, I feel like, and trust you. And then they're like, I'll get another one. I love it. So, like, what are our alternatives? Do we have to just find our craft shows to go in person to our art and craft shows? Like, what do you think?
It was interesting. I had this thought today. I showed up at all those craft fairs and people were consistent in going to them because people like routines. So I feel like it worked in my favor because I knew people would keep going to those because they like to walk around and get food, right? It might be next to a restaurant and then there's an activity. So it's like, what is that like if you took that onto social media, right? How do you know they're consistently showing up? Because people are in and out of social media. You don't know. You can't track them. And it's like having a bad spot at an art show in the back corner. That's how Instagram is right now.
Oh my God.
Nobody
Yes.
sees you. They walk by you right to the bathroom, but nobody sees you over in the corner. So I don't know how to kind of get yourself out there. I've done consistency, right? We've done more engaging reels. You get some views, but is it converting to the buying? That's the hard thing. Where TikTok, I feel like a lot of people are on it and they're entertained and they're scrolling. Yeah.
Will they
Will
buy?
they buy? Can we get them off the platform onto our website?
Onto our websites. And
Mm.
I'm in this place of, I think, as an educator, but also as someone who likes creative business, and I have one, I'm trying to see like if this isn't working, what are the alternatives? Are we missing something big that's right in front of us? What does this make possible? If everyone's looking over here, how do we get everyone to be like, all right, it's all crowded over here, but here I am, come see me and support me? I had a thought last year to try to figure out how to this is me, Vanessa. This is just I wanted to rebuild Etsy last year. I was like, I want to start a new Etsy. I did, and I still kind of believe in it because I think that things were like birthed, they were good, they expanded too much, and then they're collapsing under their own weight. So we have two options. Do we just get out in front of people again and re-engage and just pretend that it's life running a business before we were all online all the time, before Amazon took over? I mean, there's a
Mm,
part of me that's like, maybe that would feel really good. Maybe, I don't know.
yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe we're not off base here about getting back in person.
It was something I was reading or watching not too long ago, and they were saying that people go back to paper books now because they stare at a computer screen all day long. So they want to hold something in their hand. At what point is it going to be the pendulum swing of people are really tired of being on a platform and they actually want to have in-person socialization and experiences again? I don't know, right?
I think we
Something to
need
think
it.
about.
I think it needs to happen because before COVID happened, and that's actually whenever I think the biggest shift to being chronically online really happened. I heard this talk by, I think they're a sociologist, and they were talking about how everyone got locked in their houses in 2020, but some people never came out, so to speak. They might be out of their house, but their nervous system is completely stuck still in fight or flight. And so just going on social media and scrolling and never engaging is hitting this dopamine thing that they have, but they're
Mm,
acting like they're still unsafe, but maybe they're not as unsafe as they feel. So like, what does it take for some people who maybe that 2020 situation was so impactful in a negative way? Like a lot of people have never healed from that. A lot of people's nervous systems have never healed. And
right.
my husband and I were like, man, the world should do something about this. Like we need to change the way society works because like what do we do? And I said, honey, no one's going to change it for us. It's now like at the individual's level to
Yeah.
work on that stuff, right?
And you know what's funny? It's a very interesting story. In 2020, how everybody kind of went online? Brick and mortar saved me that year
Yeah.
because all my art shows canceled. And then the guy who did my screen printing of my shirts, his mom was a landlord. She owned a building. Her tenants were leaving, they were just retiring. And I did a pop up there for 3 months from, end of October to Christmas. And that actually saved my whole year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a lot of people went online, but then a lot of people also wanted to shop in person. It was a really weird time. It's just you think about it, and I think either people jumped back in cautiously, right?
Yeah.
Or they just never came back out.
Never came back out. And there's a lot of people who never came back out. So maybe we're dealing with people who what used to be our customers, but can't be right now because they just literally cannot get out of like the hole they're in. And then what happens, I feel like for me and you and these other people who are self-employed building their dreams, it's like if our audience shrinks and the potential people that we want to impact with our work kind of disappears or is inaccessible, like what does that mean for us? What does that mean for the ability to monetize our art, live off of our creativity? I think it's going to come back to organization. I think we're going to need to see creatives come together and organize events together so it's like a cooperative. This is something I've
Mm.
been thinking about. Artists and regions building almost these cooperatives, not like just have a booth in a big warehouse, but like how do we as artists create our own ecosystem of like support for each other, promoting each other's work, bringing each other's people, audiences to each other, maybe even organizing in person events, turning the craft show on its head and instead making it like artists collaborating in a different way. Something I did with some gals was we used to run this retreat events called the Creative Social Retreat. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat if we could. We just rented a giant Airbnb and we all just split the cost, but we split all the profit and we fit as many people in those houses as possible. People would fly in. We would just teach art classes and make art together and talk and cook together. And at the end of it, those people ended up being the customers who then bought from me online later. But I think we needed that first, like, together experience to build trust and relationship. But I don't know. I'm thinking that maybe that's where it's headed. Maybe you're not wrong to go to the horse show and do something there.
To piggyback off of what your retreat was, a lot of my online sales came from people who bought from me in person already.
Yeah.
because like you said, you already had that trust. So it's got to be, the whole thing with like AI and online, and people are getting inundated with like emails and sales. Even on TikTok, it's like, my God, how many times do I have to scroll up because it's someone selling something, right? But if these people, we already had that relationship from in person. And so they were comfortable going on my website and buying from me a painting, a shirt, a print, you know? So that was a lot of my online sales were people making a second or third purchase. So now I'm like, here I am selling stuff online, but do they feel comfortable buying because of just, everything that happens, the good and the bad with online, right?
And how do you become someone's go-to? I think maybe it's like, can you get 100 in-person sales and work with that list of 100 people that you've cultivated in person? Maybe it's at a show, maybe it's, I don't know how it happens, but I'm thinking like 100 people who purchase from you in person. How many of them can you then nurture to come online with you? So all these artists, us included, we don't want to go in person and do shows. It's time, it's investment. A lot of us have kids and things like that. But what if that's like where we have to go next so that we can get back to the comfort of running our businesses from our dining room tables? Do you know what I'm saying?
I get it. And, I think in 3 years, my daughter will be done high school.
Yeah.
And I have done some pretty crazy things as the mom. I've packed her in a car with 30 paintings and driven down the East Coast to go to art shows around DC. I mean, I've done everything. My kid's been through it all. We did. She's been at all these art festivals and fairs. And I'm just thinking, like, maybe I just need a few years off, right? Because it was a lot. I was a hustler. You know, you want to make six figures? I'll tell you how to do it. You
Yeah.
get in that car and you go sell your stuff. It works.
Yeah.
But, I'm thinking, what would it look like when she's done high school and I can take my horse to Florida for 3 months and show my art and live this really nice, warm, comfy life instead of freezing? Like, that's kind of like, maybe that's my next possibility, right? Maybe it's the next kind of thing down the road. So,
Absolutely. And
you know,
so then what do you do in the in between? Like you can see yourself someday getting back there. Like I can see myself too once like my youngest is a little older, he's almost 11. It's harder for me to get away now, but like I have these visions of myself a few years from now, like hosting art retreats in Scotland. I love Scotland,
oh,
or
I love,
traveling
yeah,
and having this way to bring it with me. But the whole benefit of being able to sell online has been for the mothers whose kids are at home and the
I know.
creatives who don't have that flexibility.
Yeah.
So, how much do we have to sacrifice now of our time while we still need to be tethered at home in person so that we can weather it? And like, I bought this building, Vanessa, and I was just telling someone yesterday, I'm like, I think I need to host like an artist show here, like a market, and I want to turn it on its head, but I don't know yet how. But I was thinking, like, is there a way to bring it online and in person at the same time, right? How do
Hmm.
we hype something so that if you can't come locally, online, people get a little taste of it?
Like live sale on TikTok, right? You could be a live sale somehow. If you figure out how to do the whole TikTok shop thing, you can direct them to your website. That can be really fun. I know my crowd is out there. It's getting to them, right? When people see my art, they have nice things to say, but it's getting on their page.
I have crazy ideas, Vanessa. I have an idea. We had stopped doing physical sample mailings to wholesale, like to retailers for a while because the juice wasn't worth the squeeze in terms of the
Yeah.
amount of product we were sending out for free. But what if it's different with TikTok influencers? What if what we need to do is make a list of the top 100 TikTok influencers for your niche, no matter whether it's the guy cleaning the abscesses out of the horse hooves? What if we make a top 100 list of those people on TikTok? And then we cold mail them because we're about to do that different version, but we're about to do that again for some product things because we
Mm.
went away from it and now we're going back to it.
What are we going to send them?
We're
This
going to
is,
send them mini print of your chicken art or your horse art or whatever lovely art you have for the new audience you're trying to build. And we
yeah.
just send it to them. It's different influencers. It was the
Mm.
celebrity influencers at first where it's like, oh, like, okay, years ago when I was in the baby industry, like trying to sell baby stuff, there was a woman who ran a influencer placement company. It was a total scam, I found out. But she got all
Ooh,
these people to pay her money to get their products placed on celebrity social media. If you're listening and you're this person, I'm sorry, but I don't remember your name. But I remember, like, I'll get so and so, it'll be in these magazines. And so she was doing that because there are actual benefits to getting, influential people to share your products. I just saw someone who said Beyonce wore their necklace and, they instantly sold like so much stuff.
right,
But I think we're fading away from celebrity worship. And I think we're even fading away from like the type of influencers that are not like people working and living in their industry and sharing it. You know what I mean? There are
yeah.
professional influencers out there. That's not bad, but I think I'm seeing a decline. So, what do our people want that is their version of escapism? Who are they following that gives it to them? And what do
Right.
we give them in return so they talk about our products?
I mean, if you open it up, how many accounts are you seeing homesteading and people doing like small farming and you want animals? I know they're out there. I
They're
know they're
out
out
there.
there. We need to find each other.
If you're out there listening and you are that person on TikTok, we have something for you. We have the best artist, Vanessa Piche. She's got the art for you. But I think that we've all tried to automate so many things, and we can
Yeah,
automate once they get to you. Once they get to your website, that's where the automation can happen. We can do automation of follow-up emails, but I think we're getting back to the old, I've got my briefcase and I'm going door to door to sell encyclopedias at first kind of work. And I don't think that sounds pleasant to many people.
right. We've been
But
in the trenches. We can do
yeah,
it again.
because there are going to be people out there who won't be willing to do that work. And if we're willing to not like, sacrifice everything to do that, but if we're willing to kind of try the weird thing to zag when everyone else is zigging, what
Yeah.
does that mean like 2 years from now or 3 years from now for us? Like, is that where we stake our new claim?
Think about too, just popped in my head, people with buying power, right?
Yes.
The median age of my art collectors was 50 to 75, right? Like that was where the sweet spot was. They had the income, and guess what? They're not always online. Half of those collectors don't go online. That's not their thing. So seeing someone in person is how they found and bought.
I think I shared that diagram with you in the group in the mastermind about demographics of how old people are and where they are shopping right now, like what platform they're on or where they're shopping. And you're right, if your audience is literally 45 or above, it's shocking like where it goes to. And beyond that, 65 and above, it's in person. So either you have to compete with way more people for a more vast audience online and just hope you get picked up, or is this what
Right.
niching down means now differently? You go where they're at, and if they're not here, that means where are they shopping? They're going to galleries, right? They maybe have art dealers who are helping them do placements. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely that. I feel like some of it's always kind of that timing, right place, right time. I do feel some people get kind of seen and picked up by galleries online. But once again, how many people are inundating their DMs, right? Like it's so much easier to reach out to people now. So, you have to think about that too. I would like to think in the last 24 hours, I've had this moment that being in person is not dead,
Yeah.
right? I feel like there is a lot of wisdom in it and there's a lot of potential to gain there. In my mind, I'm mapping out a whole new route and plans and shows in the Midwest that I could do and all this other stuff. Like Kentucky has all the horse parks, things like that. So I think I might be formulating a plan, but it's a long term plan. It's not a tomorrow.
No, it's a long-term plan. And so I guess how do we tell ourselves as we kind of wrap up this episode? Because we just talked about all the things that aren't working and the pivots we're having to make because Vanessa, you're going through it. I coach so many people who are going through it. It's not just our industry, it's across the board. It's not just us. Like, what do we do in the meantime? How do we tell ourselves this is part of our journey? This is the way it is right now. The long game is what we're playing, and a dip is here. And I'll say one other thing. My business, I've gotten in the habit of like every year I want it to grow, grow, grow. But real companies that are not like small business companies, individually owned, Very rarely are people actually growing every single year. There usually is ups and downs and ups and downs, but I don't want a down year. And if I have
Yeah.
a down year, I am like, do I throw the baby out with the bathwater? Am I completely off base? What if this is just the down year?
I've never had 2 years the same in
Yeah,
all of my years in business. The numbers have never been the same. The whole landscape's never been the same. That's the
yeah,
one thing I know is consistent. Next year will not be like this, right? I can't predict it. There is some sort of camaraderie in knowing this and
yeah.
knowing that it's like we're doing it. Someone might be having a great year and listening to this, and someone might be having a really down year and listening to this. But we've probably been in each other's shoes.
We have all probably all either been in each other's shoes or will be. So, Vanessa and I have the benefit of wisdom of having done this for a really long time, and what she's done has been completely different than what I've done in my career. But what I do know is the people who don't stop, even if they have to take a break for their health and their, sanity, the people who keep showing up, even if you have to reinvent yourself over and over again, those are the people who I think, make the biggest impact. What if a year from now we sit down and talk and Vanessa, you have found that like the path you thought you were supposed to go on actually was a different path. And even though it all added up on paper, what you're supposed to do is even better, but totally out of left field. That's kind of my hope.
A little mantra I said to myself this morning was I'm open to possibilities,
Yeah.
right? Maybe I'm looking at things a little skewed. Maybe I need to open. I'm a very like point and shoot person.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to go this way, but what if there was another possibility? What if there's something even better coming along right now? I just don't know it yet, but I'm preparing. Something's going to be good.
So what does all of this weirdness where what worked in the past doesn't work anymore? What does it make possible for us? And what if it's right in front of us, but we're not looking at it through the right lens, so to speak? How do we
Yeah.
find the right prescription? I don't know.
I don't know either, but the whole thing is if we're having this conversation, I feel like, we are on the side that we are going to survive it because we're willing to have the conversation and we're willing to look at things differently. We're still willing to learn and pick up a new trend or, a new way of doing business.
I mean, there's new things being invented all the time. Maybe what's to come is actually even better. I've got a hope for that. And if you're out there listening right now and you're like, I've been pounding the pavement, I haven't had success yet, I am joining right now, it feels so hard. The beginnings feel hard no matter how seasoned or experienced you are. Vanessa is case in point. I've started some new things. It's harder than you can imagine, but it was hard when I first started 17 years ago, but that's not top of mind now. So, like, how much hard are you willing to endure, and how long are you willing to endure it on the journey to figure out what's next?
I know every other day it's like, I'm going to quit. I have to keep going. I'm going to make it. I can't do this anymore.
If you feel like you can't do it anymore and you're like, just feeling what we're saying, just know that, like, I think it's important that we talk about it. I don't
Yeah.
ever want to pretend things are fine when they're not fine. And I think that the more we talk about it, hopefully we can find solutions or collaborations. As we wrap up, I'll just say that something my friend, whose name is also Vanessa, always tells me. Now I think I've been friends with her long enough that I get it and believe it. She's about 10 years older than me. She's like my best friend. And she used to always say, Stacie, we've always had what we needed when we needed it. We've always had it. Even in the moment, it didn't feel like it. We always ended up having what we needed. And that used to frustrate me because I like to make things happen. I don't like to feel powerless. But after going through the year that I've gone through, the only thing I can hold on to is like, we've always had what we needed when we
Yeah.
needed it.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of are we willing to make the sacrifices that we need to during that time so that we can like find that appreciation for what we really do have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Well, Vanessa, thank you for
Yeah.
being here and just having a real honest talk about what so many people are feeling right now. Where can people find you online?
Yeah. So VanessaPiche.com is my website. Still a little under construction. We just did the whole Squarespace to Shopify switchover. Still working on that. Instagram, Vanessa Piche, Facebook, and TikTok. You'll see chickens and horses and all that good stuff. That's me.
I held a chicken a few weeks ago and thought of you, friend. That's what
Love
happened.
my, there's great peace in chickens.
And poop too. That's all.
Yes, lots of it.
That's a good way to end this one. All right, everybody. Tune in for the next episode of Art Plus Audience, where who knows, maybe we'll have some solutions to some of the problems that we just kind of laid out. Who knows, Vanessa? Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Stacie Bloomfield here. My book, The Artist Side Hustle, is officially out now. I wrote the book I wish I had when I started Gingerbread. Inside, you'll learn 13 ways to monetize your art, the essentials of a strong portfolio, and how to use just 5 hours a week to grow your creative business. You can grab it anywhere books are sold, including the audiobook read by me.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Hey, could you do me a favor? Could you subscribe to this podcast and then share it with one of your best art friends? I'd really appreciate it. And then head on over to Instagram and follow me at the Leverage Your Art account, and you can keep up with all of our future episodes. Thank you so much for your support. It means everything to have you here listening and learning. Bye.